So first up, D.C. judicial interference. I think hopefully more and more conservatives are waking up to just how politically corrosively corrupt the District of Corruption is, and allowing and affording an independent judicial branch in D.C. allows the swamp to guard and defend the swamp. And it allows them to gut those who would like to reform or drain the swamp. The latest version of that is a D.C. judge. President Trump put a freeze on all discretionary spending. The Biden administration was trying to spend like mad, even after Trump got in, before Trump could stop certain payments. And so Trump said, enough of this nonsense. This all needs to be evaluated. There's going to be a temporary freeze on discretionary spending. This has no impact on Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, anything like that, contrary to what the media was trying to hype it as. Trump caught them doing what they were doing, so he stopped them from doing it. What does the federal courts do in the District of Corruption? Immediately overrule the president. This is the arrogance of the federal judiciary, especially in the District of Corruption. They don't see any check on their abuse of authority. This is why they need to be scrapped altogether. Just get rid of the take back home rule to Congress, and end any federal courthouse in federal jurisdiction in the District of Columbia. Reassign those judges across the country. End of story. Until you do that, you're going to allow the swamp to guard the swamp and defend the swamp and protect the swamp, regardless of what the American people want, because they don't care what the American people want. They think they're here to govern you, and you're here to listen to them, and that's it. This is the arrogance of the D.C. corrupt judicial system that has been on full display now. For those of us that have been around a while, it's always been on full display. But it's been on full display to more Americans during the January 6th and Trump cases. They got to see just how politically prejudiced the entire District of Columbia's judicial system is. Again, our founding fathers had no intention for the District of Columbia to have its own court system. For anything like what we're seeing today in the federal bureaucracy. So it's not a surprise that the D.C. judge like, oh no, President Trump, you can't stop the Biden plan of spending all the people's money against your wishes. We don't care you're the elected executive. We're the judges, and we run you, pal. That's their arrogance. Until some of these judges go to prison for their crimes against the American people, they will continue to be condescending and arrogant in their abuse of power. These judges need to be disciplined, and they need to be disciplined by the political process. So some of them need to be impeached. Some others need to be indicted. Until that happens, we have got a corrupt bureaucracy in the judicial branch and the executive branch that is undermining and killing America's constitutional republic. They are a greater threat to the American constitutional liberty than any foreign adversary has ever been. The greatest threat is, once again, from within. And the peak of that threat is the corrupt, rogue actions of D.C. judges usurping power they don't have. Don't let anybody tell you that any of these judges sincerely believe in standing. Because it's amazing. How does anybody have standing to sue President Trump on discretionary spending? If you and I sue her that, they immediately say no standing. But because it's anti-Trump and protecting the deep state, the D.C. judges run to say, oh yeah, standing, no problem. That's what hypocritical, lying, fakes, phonies, and frauds the D.C. judges are. They are an embarrassment to the rule of law in America. And until they face personal consequences, they won't stop. So until the populist and Republican and conservative elected officials and public wake up to just how rogue this system is, how endangering it is to our constitutional future, we won't be able to get real reform in this country. And so we'll see what remedies and relief come down the pike. But it is another indicator of just how bad our system has become. What was meant to be a check on power has become an abuse of power. By the way, go back and read the Anti-Federalists. They predicted this. They said this would happen. In fact, it happened right after the beginning of our country, which people forget. As I frequently talk about in the case of the impeachment of Samuel Chase, Supreme Court Justice Samuel Chase, our first judges tried to do this. Usurp their power to overrule the elected officials, to overrule the American people, and to weaponize it for political purposes. You had Supreme Court judges rigging trials that they were presiding over, because back then that happened, in order to make sure their political adversaries were imprisoned. It only stopped when Congress impeached Samuel Chase, their most well-regarded and well-respected member. That's when all of a sudden all the judges were like, hold on a second. Oops. Maybe we're not supposed to abuse our power this way. That's what has to happen, or this is going to keep happening. The